I was standing in my boss's office, grinning ear to ear, waiting to hear if my vacation request had been approved. But instead, she gave me the strangest look and said, "Your trip to Denver with Darla is all set." My smile vanished. "What trip to Denver?" I asked, my voice cracking. Apparently, my mom had called HR and used my vacation days to book a week-long trip she wanted to take, without asking me, without even telling me. My chest tightened with anger as I pictured her, happily planning her getaway with my time, my hard-earned break from work. That was the moment I swore. This time, she wasn't getting away with controlling my life. What would you do if your own mother stole your vacation time for a trip she wanted? Would you confront her? Or let it slide? Tell me in the comments, and subscribe for more. For context, I work as a project coordinator at a logistics company. Long hours, constant deadlines, and barely any time for myself had been my reality for the past 2 years. I had finally saved up enough paid time off and money to take my dream trip, a quiet beach vacation in Key West. Enter my mom, Darla Fletcher. Darla is one of those women who believes she always knows what's best for everyone, including me. Growing up, I was used to her controlling what I wore, who I dated, even what college I chose. At 28, I thought I had carved some independence for myself, but apparently I was wrong. I found out about her little scheme when HR congratulated me on my family bonding trip. My heart dropped as the HR manager cheerfully explained that my mom had called, said we were taking a much-needed family getaway, and got my vacation approved. When I called Darla, she didn't even sound guilty. "Oh, honey," she said breezily. "You never take time off. You'll thank me later. We're going to Denver, sightseeing, hiking, just what we need to reconnect." But I didn't want to reconnect. I wanted to sit on a beach, sip cocktails, and sleep in. That moment shattered the illusion that my time was mine. At first, I was just stunned. I kept telling myself it wasn't a big deal. Maybe I could reschedule my vacation. But the more I thought about it, the more furious I became. This wasn't just about a trip. This was about every single time Darla had ignored my boundaries. The time she invited herself on a date I was excited about. The time she told my landlord I didn't need air conditioning because it was too expensive. The time she gave away my childhood dog without asking me because she thought it was best. I had spent years swallowing my anger, trying not to rock the boat. But this time, the boat was already sinking. When I confronted her that night, she laughed it off. "You're being dramatic," she said. "This is good for us. You never spend time with me anymore." I felt like a little girl again, my feelings dismissed, my needs minimized. I barely slept that night. My dream vacation felt stolen from me, and worse, I felt powerless. For days, I considered just giving in, going on her trip, and pretending everything was fine. That's what I always did. But then something in me snapped. One morning, as I sat drinking cold coffee, staring at the Denver itinerary she had mailed me, I whispered to myself, "No more." I decided right then that if Darla wanted to play games with my time, she was going to lose. I didn't tell her anything. I smiled through our next phone call, pretending I was excited about the trip. But behind the scenes, I got to work. First, I emailed HR and politely asked for a copy of the vacation request on file. Sure enough, it had been submitted over the phone, without my signature. Then I scheduled a private meeting with HR. After explaining the situation, I asked if I could revoke the request since I hadn't authorized it. They agreed, reinstating my vacation days. For a week, I said nothing to Darla, letting her gush about hotel bookings and sightseeing plans. Inside, I was seething and secretly planning my own dream trip again. By the time the departure date rolled around, my revenge was ready, and it was going to be sweet. 2 days before her planned Denver trip, Darla called me, reminding me what time she'd pick me up. "Oh," I said casually, "I won't be going to Denver." There was a pause. "What do you mean?" she asked sharply. I told her that I had canceled the vacation request and rebooked it for myself, for Key West, exactly as I had planned before she interfered. "You did what?" she shrieked. "Yes, Mom," I said calmly, for the first time in my life. "You don't get to decide how I spend my time. I do." She tried to guilt-trip me, crying about wasted bookings, complaining that I was abandoning her. But I didn't back down. 2 days later, as she sat fuming at home, I was boarding a plane to Florida. I posted pictures of myself lounging on the beach, smiling with a margarita in hand. Friends commented how relaxed I looked. When Darla called again, I didn't answer. For once, I let her deal with the consequences of her actions without swooping in to make her feel better. And I have to admit, it felt incredible. Lying on the warm sand, listening to the waves crash, I realized something important. This wasn't just about a trip. It was about taking my life back. For years, I let my mom control my choices because it was easier than fighting. I told myself it wasn't worth the drama. But every time I let her overstep, a little piece of me disappeared. Reclaiming my vacation time felt like reclaiming myself. Of course, there were consequences. Darla didn't talk to me for 2 weeks after I got back. But strangely, I felt relieved. I had spent so much time trying to please her, trying to avoid her disapproval, that I had forgotten what it felt like to stand my ground. This revenge taught me something I wish I had learned years ago. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's necessary. After that incident, my relationship with Darla changed. She still calls me, still tries to push sometimes, but now I stop her. I say no when I need to, and I don't feel guilty anymore. My boss even complimented me when I returned from my trip. "You seem different," she said. "Happier." And I was. I felt lighter, freer, like I had finally stepped into adulthood in a way that had nothing to do with paying bills or having a career. It was about owning my choices. Darla eventually admitted she had been wrong. She still didn't fully understand why it upset me so much, but she hasn't tried to control my schedule since. I learned that revenge doesn't always have to be loud or cruel. Sometimes it's simply taking back what's yours, quietly, firmly, and without apology. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Sometimes revenge isn't about hurting them, it's about finding yourself again. Taking back my vacation time was the first step toward becoming the version of me that doesn't let anyone, not even family, walk over her. What about you? Have you ever had to stand up to someone you love to protect your boundaries? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one.